breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, who does amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to be chatting with him about the American League playoff picture. He does the pre- and post-game hosting duties on the radio side for the Seattle Mariners, so no doubt about it, we have to talk about that team and all their intrigue, and we're going to be taking a look forward to what we can expect out of the Seattle Mariners over the next few days as well, with Bryce Miller coming off the injured list. So we're going to have a lot of fun there in the final segment. Get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, naming does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. EdgeBoost is making sure that 100% of gambling transactions all get approved. And when you go to EdgeBoost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Monday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
What was supposed to be a double dip between the Brewers and the Cubs turned into a single game. We will be getting a doubleheader tomorrow, and fortunately a day game, but 7-0, the Brewers take down the Chicago Cubs. So the Brewers now 15-1 in their last 16 games, and if you want to go back a little bit further, 40-10 in their last 50 games. For Freddie Peralta, rock solid here. 6 scoreless innings. Abner Uribe, Jared Koenig, Grant Anderson, they all give you a scoreless inning, and for the Brewers, a pair of bombs. Caleb Durbin, 7th home run season off of Taylor Rogers, and Cade Horton, well, you heard who was able to go deep off of him. Bryce Strang, 13th home run season. Horton only lasts 2 2/3 innings. He gives up that solo home run, and then from there, it was a piecemeal bullpen sort of game as Gavin Hollowell gives up 4 runs in 2 innings. You had Taylor Rogers give up a solo run in his inning work. Drew Pomeranz 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Luke Little does come up little as he gives up an unearned run in his 2 innings of work for the Cardinals. Things have been very up, down, all around for them recently, but they're able to bust out with their offense. They take down the Miami Marlins, this by a count of 8-3 as the Marlins, they were approaching 500, but they have tails fun ever since then. Matthew Liberatore gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run to Eric Wagaman, 8th home run season, but Iri Perez was not long for this game. Only gives up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings, one of which was earned as he was hurt by a pair of errors out there in the field, but 4 walks, and then from there, bullpen explodes. Ronnie Enriquez, pair of outs out the bullpen squirrels. Valentin Belozo was not a bozo with a scoreless inning, but Lake Picard gives up 2 runs, one of which was earned in his 2 innings, and then you got Josh Simpson gives up 3 runs in his inning work, including a home run to Nolan Gorman, his 12th home run of the campaign. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they win a Paul Skeens start. Skeens does not get the win, but they get a win by a count of 5-2 over the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays have been one of your best over teams in all of baseball. 69 overs, 51 unders, and 6 pushes, and this was of the push variety as Kevin Gausman 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. From there, Uriel Rodriguez gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Brandon Little and out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Seranthony Dominguez 2 unearned runs given up in his 1 1/3 innings. Now they were a result of his own throwing error, so they should be credited to him. And for Paul Skeens, 6 innings, gives up 2 runs, punches out 8, and then the bullpen does their part. Evan Sisk, Kyle Nicholas, Dennis Santana, they're all able to turn a scoreless inning. Yeah, lots of scoreless innings out there in Kansas City. Another under for the Royals. 4-3, they're able to take down the Walker Texas Rangers. For the Royals, 53 overs, 70 unders, and 2 pushes thus far this season. And for Texas, Jack Leiter did not lend the length that they were hoping for. 3 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, including a leadoff home run by Mike Yastrzemski. 3 leadoff home runs in 15 games by the Royals. Second most in history for a team traded midseason to Ricky Henderson, 12th home run season. And then Vinny Pasquantino off of Leiter, 23rd home run season. Off of Luis Carvalho, you did have home run number 12 of the season for Miguel Garcia as Carvalho gives up that solo home run in his 1 1/3 innings of work. From there, Caleb Belsley, pride of Hortonville, Wisconsin, Phil Matone, and Robert Garcia all lend a scoreless inning. And for the Royals, you had Michael Wacha give you a pretty solid start, 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Did allow 9 hits, but mitigated the damage. From there, John Schreiber, 4 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels. Lucas Hurstedge gives up a run in his inning of work, but Squirrels setting from Carlos Estevez to get the save. And for the Rangers, despite the fact that they got 11 hits, they only left 5 men on base and they got 3 runs, as they hit into quite a few double plays in this one, so that was a little bit less than savory for them. I want to talk about less than savory. The LA Dodgers sweep the San Diego Padres just to lose on Monday to the Colorado Rockies by a count of 4-3, as Yoshinobu Yamamoto gives up 3 runs in 7 innings, including a home run to Ezekiel Tovar, 7th home run season. Kyle Freeland was out long for this game, and he actually looked solid. 5 punch-outs in 4 innings, allowing 2 runs. From there, Gene Nill gives up 2 runs in an inning, but Luis Peralta, Juan Mejia, Victor Vodnik all in a squirrel setting. And for the Dodgers, Justin Robelski give up the winning run in the 9th inning, as Warming Venable was able to get an RBI single, and you did have a squirrel setting from Eduardo Enriquez as well from that LA Dodgers bullpen. You had yourself the Baltimore Orioles get the job done on the road by a count of 6-3 against the Boston Red Sox. You took the under in this game. 4 runs in the 9th costed you, so that was relatively rough, as the Orioles have actually been your best road under team in all of baseball, at the very least the best out there in the American League. 23 overs, 40 unders, and 2 pushes. The Phillies have actually been a little bit better on the road, 22 overs, 40 unders, and 4 pushes, but that's it for Baltimore. Trevor Rogers, another really nice start. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. Diedrich Enns, Yennier Cano, don't you know, they both gave up a run in an inning of work, and for Gunnar Henderson, he goes deep off of Dustin May. Was Mayday for his 15th home run season, but May wasn't bad. Gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. From there, you'd have Jordan Hicks give up 2 runs in his inning of work, and Giovanni Morin, he gives up 2 runs over the course of his 2 innings, so that was a little bit less than savory, and this was very savory if you had the over, as the Phillies, much better over team at home rather than on the road. They take down the Seattle Mariners, this by a count of 12-7, and Seattle has been one of your better over teams in all of baseball as well. And for Seattle, Logan Gilbert just got completely bombed in this one. 6 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings, gives up a pair of bombs. Carlos Vargas, 3 scoreless innings, but Casey Lugumina gives up 5 runs in 2 innings, including a pair of bombs, and Jackson Keller gives up a run in an inning. Now for Seattle, had a pair of home runs in this one from unlikely sources. Mitch Garver, 8th home run season. Cole Young, his 4th, as for Mitch Garver goes deep off of Mr. Ranger Suarez. Pretty solid start. 10 punch-outs, allows 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings. From there, Jordan Romano gives up another home run. His miserable season continues, gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Orion Kirkering, a squirrel setting, and then Nolan Huffman in his MLB debut. Not necessarily great here. He gives up 3 runs in an inning, but what was great was Bryce Harper. 2 440-plus foot home runs, 20th and 21st home runs of the season. JT Realmuto is 8th of the season, and then Trey Turner down for what? Home run number 13 of the campaign for him. What has not been great, as well as been the Houston Astros recently. They lose to the Detroit Tigers by a count of 10-0. For Detroit, this is exactly what they were looking for from Captain Jack Flaherty. 9 strikeouts, 7 scoreless innings. From there, Troy Melton, Alex Lang both led a scoreless inning. And for the Tigers, you had a home run derby going on. Trey Sweeney, 6th home run season. Cole Keith, his 11th home run season. Riley Green, his 29th. And you had Wencio Perez get his 10th, as Spencer Arrighetti, he looks like Mom Spaghetti, giving up 5 runs in 5 innings. From there, Tanner Scott gets 5 outs out of the bullpen, but he lost 5 runs along the way, including a pair of homers. Brian King, a scoreless inning, and Chaz McCormick, utilized for the 3rd time in the last 5 games, that is a position player, a scoreless inning. So yay, verily there. The Atlanta Braves, just sad season continues. 13-9, they get completely pelted by the Chicago White Sox, as for the White Sox, they did a nice job of getting to Spencer Strider, who allows 7 runs in 3 innings, including a pair of home runs. Austin Cox gives up 3 runs in 3 innings, including a home run. Desmond Hernandez, he gets 4 outs out of the bullpen, gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, including a homer. You had from there Tyler Kinley give you a scoreless inning, and you had a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless from Luke Williams, the backup shortstop. And for the Atlanta Braves, they actually got their offense going. Drickson Profar, home runs number 8 and 9 of the campaign, and Michael Harris, 15th home run season. He's been picking up a little bit, but too little too late for Harris. His home run comes off of Yandres Gomez, gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 5 innings. Mike Vasil and Grant Taylor both give you a scoreless inning. Owen White gives up 4 runs in a third of an inning. Brandon Eiser to scoreless inning, and Jordan Leisure, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And for a White Sox team that has been rough with their offense, they were really able to crank out the deep ball here. Kyle Teal, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Brooks Baldwin, his 8th. Lennon Sosa, 17th home run season. And Luis Robert was able to get home run number 13 of the campaign himself. For the Cleveland Guardians, they keep things rolling as they go on the road and they get the job done against the Arizona Diamondbacks. This by a count of 3-1, as for Cleveland, they got a pretty rock-solid start out of Gavin Williams, 5 1/3 innings scoreless. From there, you did have a run given up in an inning by Cade Smith, but he gets a save. Eric Zabrowski, Matthew Festa, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Hunter Gaddis was able to give you 4 outside the bullpen squirrels as well. And for Cleveland, pair of home runs off of Zach Gallen, who continues his rough season, as CJ Kafis was able to get his second home run season, and Brian Rocchio, third home run in the campaign. Gallen gives up 3 runs in 6 innings. From there, John Curtis with 2 S's, 2 scoreless innings. Kyle Bacchus, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well, but the Diamondbacks, they strand 10 men on base, so that's a big reason why they were unable to get the job done. Do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, and this one is just going final with the Cincinnati Reds 4-1 winners over the LA Angels. As for the Cincinnati Reds, Brady Singer had the Angels singing the blues, gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. From there, Luis May was able to give you a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless. You did have Connor Phillips come in for a scoreless inning, and then from there, this game was polished off by Scott Barlow being able to get the final 4 outs of the game. For the Reds, the big hit in this game, Gavin Lux, a Lux home run off of Victor Medeiros, 5th home run in the campaign. Medeiros gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Carson Fulmer gives up a run over the course of 2 innings. Jose Fermin, Andrew Chafin, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning, and this game just wrapping up as I'm doing this as well. Right now, we've got 4-3 in the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 outs on the board for the San Diego Padres against the San Francisco Giants. For the Giants, they did a nice job of getting to Nestor Cortez. 5 2/3 innings, he allows 4 runs, but he gave up all 4 runs in the first inning. As for the Giants, he had a trail of bombs in this one. Rafael Devers, 24th home run season. Eloy Ramos, his 15th home run season. Wilmer Flores, his 13th. And for Robbie Ray, he gives up 3 runs in 6 2/3 innings, but he was hurt by a pair of Casey Schmidt errors, so none of them were earned. He does give up a home run along the way to Ryan O'Hearn, 15th home run of the campaign. From there, you'd have Ryan Walker, give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Game was polished off by Randy Rodriguez, being able to get the job done in the 9th inning. And for the Padres, bullpen continues to be rock solid. They're number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. Mason Miller, Wandy Peralta, both on the squirrels inning, and David Morgan was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. And if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in baseball right now, it has been an underwhelming season thus far, and favorites have been a little bit shaky this year. They are right now on the money line, hitting at about 56.8%, 1,051 and 799 on the money line. Meanwhile, the under rate is at about 51.7%, 924 unders to 863 overs. Meanwhile, if you look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, the under rate has been a little bit over 50%, as you're now up to 44 unders to 41 overs, with the late games wrapping up on Monday. And moneyline favorites, they're hardly hitting above 50%, 47 and 44 on the money line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat with one of our good friends, as he does an amazing job being able to cover the Seattle Mariners with their pre- and post-game hosting on the radio side of things, Curtis Rogers. He joins me on the flip side to talk about Seattle, talk about the American League playoff race, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, with doing the pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners on the radio side of things. He does a little bit of everything over there at 710 Seattle Sports. He is a 5-man utility player over there. He does a great job in terms of holding it down in so many different fronts. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X, along with Instagram at A Kid From Kent. And Curtis, always great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you, and especially now that we are past the trade deadline. We're entering the final quarter of the season, truly the final quarter mark of the regular season. It goes by so quickly, and there is a lot of great baseball to be played, a lot of pennant races going on across Major League Baseball. Such an action-packed time. Always enjoy getting the call from you and talking about it, and I think we've got a lot in store for us coming up this week.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's been so fascinating to take a look at the Seattle Mariners, as they are right now in the thick of the playoff race, which we've been here pretty much the entirety of this decade with the Seattle Mariners. And how do you take a look at them right now with an Astros team that's really been falling back to earth after they got that massive lead out there in the American League West? And what I think has also been very surprising is the Rangers and the way that they have fallen off over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it has been quite the climb in the standings for the Mariners, thanks in large part to both Houston and Texas cooling off. At one point, Texas and Seattle were tied just a couple of weeks ago. Then the Mariners took 3 of 4 from the Rangers, and the Rangers ever since have been in a complete and total free fall. As for the Astros, they're still banged up. They're even more banged up now with Josh Hader hitting the IL. It looks like he'll be gone for probably the rest of the regular season, if not close to the rest of the regular season. So that's a huge loss for them. As for the Mariners, they're getting healthier at the current moment in time. Bryce Miller has thrown 3 rehab starts, has looked pretty solid in all 3. Victor Robles, who was lost in the season's first week to a really nasty shoulder injury he got diving into the netting at Oracle Park in San Francisco. He's going on a rehab assignment. And then Luke Raley just activated off a rehab assignment. So I would say of the 3 teams in the AL West right now, the Mariners' trajectory pointing probably the most up of any of them, not to mention the 2 big trades that they made over the deadline. Those really grabbed headlines, especially Josh Naylor has been phenomenal since coming over. Gino Suarez, pretty cold since coming over, but I think that was a huge lift to that clubhouse, especially with his familiarity with all the guys there. And I just think kudos to the Mariners front office for recognizing, their corner infield was their biggest question mark really on the entire roster. They were able to address it not just once with Naylor, but twice with Gino Suarez.
Yep, and it's a welcome back situation for Suarez as he spent a few years with the Seattle Mariners prior to this past year, as we do have our good friend Curtis Rogers over at 710 Seattle Sports joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and we're doing this out of Tuesday. Now, I know that things were a little bit TBD with the Mariners rotation because I know that they're trying to mix and match because you mentioned it. Bryce Miller is going to be coming back relatively soon. I know that they're looking to give some of these guys like Logan Gilbert and company a little bit of extra rest as well. But how do you take a look at this rotation? Because right now I think the biggest problem point for this team has been Luis Castillo, and even though the 3.48 ERA doesn't look too bad, he got blown up in his last start on Friday against the New York Mets, and it's very clear that he's not the Luis Castillo that we all know and love.
Right. I don't think Luis Castillo is the ace of the staff anymore, but he's a very dependable veteran starting pitcher, one that I think a lot of teams would love to have. But to expect him to be that guy every 5th day to shut down the opponent, I just don't think that's where he's at in his career. But I know that the Mariners are still pretty thrilled about his performance this season, especially because they had concerns of themselves heading into the year. They didn't know if he was going to be on the roster because his name was popping up in a lot of trades. I know the Red Sox showed a lot of interest in Castillo over the offseason. That trade never came to fruition. So I think right now the Mariners rotation, I think Brian Wu would get my game 1 start if that's what it came down to right now. Probably Logan Gilbert, number 2, George Kirby, 3rd, Luis Castillo, 4th, and then the wild card, Bryce Miller, who's returning either in the Philadelphia series, which is going on at the moment, or to start off the homestand. So he's going to be back real soon for this Mariners team. He's not even going to miss his next turn in the rotation. So it's coming more and more into picture for this Mariners starting rotation, which we thought was going to be the biggest strength of theirs this season. It actually hasn't. It has been the offense for the most part that has carried them this way. But if you're the Mariners and you are looking at ideal scenarios for yourself heading into the season's final month, a healthy starting rotation of all the 5 guys that led you last year, that is where you want to be at this current moment in time.
Absolutely, and they've been able to do a nice job of being able to fire on all cylinders in what I think is a very open American league. And I want to ask you about this, Curtis, because I've been talking about it on the podcast all season. I can't remember a league being more open than the American League because the Yankees aren't really striking fear into anyone despite having the matchups that they do in their lineup. Obviously, the Astros, the way that they have fallen back to earth. The Tigers have had a rough second half of the season. The Blue Jays right now have the best record in the American League, but I'm not sold on them. How do you take a look at an American League where it just feels like you don't have a lot of truly prime contenders, and anyone that can make the playoffs, in my opinion, can make a run?
We spoke to Buster Olney last week of ESPN. He was calling the Little League Classic that the Mariners and Mets were participating in. He made a really solid point that I kind of gone back to over the last couple of days. It's like you can paint a realistic picture for like 7 or 8 teams in the American League to win the AL pennant. Like that's how wide open it is, even heading into September. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from the start of September, less than 2 weeks away from the start of September. And that's how wide open it is. It's funny because I've started to hear a few more national analysts, national observers kind of saying maybe it's this Mariners team that we should be looking at as the potential favorite coming out of the American League. I know Fangraphs at one point in the last week had the Mariners at the highest World Series odds of any American League team. And that was even before they had tied up the division with the Astros. Still have not overtaken the Astros in the AL West, but still, it is wild just kind of how we kind of rethink who it is we think is going to win the American League this year. I think for the most part, the Tigers have been the most reliable team, but as you said, they have not been playing their best ball. The Blue Jays, getting out to that really slow start and then all of a sudden going nuts here over the last couple of months. They're an interesting team to me. There are just so many adventures you could choose for yourself. If you were to open up this book on the American League right now, it's anybody's league at this point.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it is going to be a fun landscape to take a look at. And obviously, I think that both of us are feeling pretty bullish on the Seattle Mariners, but is there another team in the American League that you feel like might be able to make a little bit of a surge here in the back half of the season? Because I mentioned a whole lot of teams that I'm not necessarily feeling great about. Is there a team out there in the American League that you feel like could be a contender and one that we're maybe not talking about enough right now?
The Yankees are just such a weird team in that they have all the talent in the world, and that's even without Garrett Cole in their rotation. It feels like they should be better than what they are, and yet here they are, having to deal with Aaron Judge's injury. He's not necessarily the same kind of hitter he was prior to that injury, not playing in the field a whole lot. So to me, it's like, what a disappointment they are. If things were going their way, obviously I would probably put them as the number one team in the American League. With that being said, in the AL right now, I just really like what Toronto is doing. And it's maybe not necessarily how we all drew it up, but they're playing really solid baseball right now and getting contributions from up and down that lineup. The pitching staff also looking pretty good. If I was going to pick a team in the American League right now that I have the most faith in to get to the ALCS, maybe not win the ALCS, but to at least get there, I think the Blue Jays to me would be the one team that I'm like, yeah, I could see it out of them. The Tigers to me, they leave a little bit to be desired offensively, and then also maybe starting pitching wise beyond their top three guys. The Mariners, yes, they are rounding into shape. They're getting healthier. Still not a whole lot of playoff experience on that roster. They did have a handful of games about 3 years ago in 2022, but since then, not a lot of experience on that roster. But yeah, to me, I think the Blue Jays are the one in the American League that I'm looking at and saying, like, yeah, I think they have the highest floor of any team of all the playoff hopefuls.
Yep, and I do think that they're going to be an interesting team to watch moving forward as well, and what is going to be a very, very open American League, as Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And we have to address the fact that the best team in all of baseball right now, record-wise, is the Milwaukee Brewers. They won 14 straight games before losing in extras on Sunday against the Cincinnati Reds, and I need to ask you about this because I'm a man that grew up in the great state of Wisconsin, and I'm just sitting here like, wow, this is not sustainable whatsoever. How in the heck are the Brewers the best team in all of baseball right now, and what have you seen out of them, and do you think that they could be able to make a run this season, even though it's been very strange, to say the least, to see the way that they've gotten the job done?
Yeah, I mean, they've just built something really good there in Milwaukee, and I get that they have let a lot of superstars walk over the last few years. But heck, why not the Brewers this year, out of the National League? They have got such juice going for them right now. It is emanating across that lineup. They have been really, really fun to watch. It all kind of coincides really with the promotion of Jacob Mizorowski. I mean, that guy has been just a godsend to them. You see how they kind of use him. They're kind of hoping that he'll be more available in September and October once the Brewers get there. But yeah, the Brewers right now, no one wants to face them. I wouldn't want to see them. I know the Mariners, I believe, took 1 of 3 against Milwaukee, and it felt like, holy cow, I don't know how they were able to squeak out that one game. I believe it was a 1-0 win, if I'm not mistaken. So, and even in that series, they got outscored by Milwaukee. I think it was like 17-3 over the 3 games. So a lot of people were left shaking their head here in Seattle after that series. Like, man, how could you get dominated by a Brewers team like that? But come to find out, oh, wait, they're the best team in baseball. And not just the best team in baseball, but now they've opened up like a 5 or 6 game lead on the next best team in baseball. It's a fun season over in Milwaukee. And Greg, I know you being really the only Brewers fan that I know, I can't imagine just how thrilled you have been to watch your Brew Crew stack some wins here and go on a run unlike anything we've really seen from them since, I don't know, maybe like the Robin Yount, Paul Molitor days.
Yeah, I mean, party like it's 1982, break out the Miller Lite. It has been absolutely magnificent for this Brewers team. The fact that they came back from down 8-1 in that most recent Mizorowski start, by the way.
Yeah.
The Bob Uecker magic. It is just here with the Brewers. And just when you look at the landscape of the league, I mean, obviously we're talking about the Brewers in terms of best record. Is there someone out there in the National League that you think can be able to dethrone them? Because I still default to the fact that I think that the LA Dodgers, when they're at full force, they're the best team in all of baseball, but they've got a lot of question marks. The Padres have been surging, but I have a few question marks with regards to that lineup. The Chicago Cubs, I still think, are a very complete team, but it's been wobbly for them, and it just feels like one of the most open seasons of baseball I've ever seen.
It really does. You mentioned the Cubs. I mean, their offense has gone ice cold. They're booing Kyle Tucker, of all people, on Sunday for not running out a ground ball. Pete Crow Armstrong has been nothing offensively for them really since the All-Star break. You look across the National League, I kind of wonder if the Dodgers, these games start to matter too much to them if they continue to allow Shohei Ohtani to throw, because it just kind of feels like these are more just rehab starts for him. It's not necessarily starts where he's looking to go 5, 6, 7 innings. It's just like, I need to throw my 40, 50 pitches here in order to get my arm strength back up. Obviously, you're not going to send him out on a rehab assignment because then you lose his bat in your lineup. So I just think right now in the National League, I would have said the Phillies, but you've got the Zach Wheeler situation dealing with those blood clots. You don't know the severity of that. Obviously, with blood clots, that is a very serious thing, but we don't know when he's going to be back. We don't know if he's going to be back. That's your rotation ace in Philadelphia. I mean, if you're the Phillies, you've got all that you can muster up offensively. They've got a great offense, but all of a sudden your rotation takes the biggest hit that they can possibly take at this point in the season. That's going to be a huge question mark for them going forward. And I kind of wonder if they have the starting pitching to make up for that. I know Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, those two guys have been phenomenal this season. So obviously they could probably pick up a little bit for what Zach Wheeler kind of leaves out there over the next couple of weeks, however long it is he's going to be out for. But if I'm the Phillies right now, we can hang with the Brewers, but I don't know if Wheeler's injury is going to impact them to a point where maybe it is Milwaukee's league to lose here. I think the Dodgers, to me, like you said, at full health are the best team in baseball, full stop. But they have not been at full health this season, and you kind of wonder just what's it going to look like. It's so hard to repeat, and there's a lot of teams that really want to beat the Dodgers, especially considering how they have stacked the deck in their favor over the last couple of years. I would imagine the Dodgers are going to get every team's best shot in those National League playoffs.
Oh, they certainly are, and it's going to be so magical to watch. And Curtis, you're going to have a front row seat to it all, as I know that you're doing such an amazing job looking at this great game of baseball. You're doing the Seattle Mariners pre- and post-game hosting, so hopefully you will be getting to see some October baseball when you're doing those shows over there. So hopefully we can get you willed over there. And I know that regardless, you're going to be doing an amazing job on this front and so much more. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up here. Another edition of Extra Innings, 2-hour baseball show coming at you on Thursday of this week, Mariners off day. So catch up, watch out for that coming up in about 48 hours from now. Got a great interview, like I said, with Buster Olney of ESPN.com. That's available on SeattleSports.com or our Seattle Sports YouTube page, wherever it is. I'm going to download that content. And Greg, always a thrill, always a pleasure to come on this podcast with you, talk some baseball any time of the year, but especially as we enter the season's final month. Getting really, really exciting out there. Always enjoy talking about it with you.
Absolutely. Curtis is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to baseball. Every single time he joins me, lends such amazing insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks, Curtis, for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that Tom Podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Always great to be joined by Curtis Rogers, who does such an amazing job over at 710 Seattle Sports, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we start things off with 951, 952 on the card, the Miami Marlins play host to the St. Louis Cardinals. Michael McGreevy is on the bump for St. Louis. Edward Cabrera is on the bump for Miami. Miami does find themselves as between -148 to -160 favorites, and between +128 to a +136 is that number on St. Louis. 8 is the total, the under is -120, and the over is even. And for the Marlins, set them at a -147 on the money line. Right now, the lowest I'm finding is a -148. If you're looking at that initial FanDuel opener on the run line to lay run half, obviously, with the FanDuel openers, you never know what you're going to get there. They're typically way, way off. But that said, in terms of the initial opener, you find that at a +138, and +138 is my absolute minimum to be able to take this. I would rather go money line than run line personally, but that said, if I absolutely had to play right now, I'd be looking at the Marlins on the run line. That said, I will be in on the Marlins in some form or capacity. I'm thinking money line, but still, we shall see how the overnight line movement is going to be going. And I do want to be on the Marlins because Edward Cabrera has been really good for them this season. A 3.34 ERA. The strikeout stuff is still pretty solid, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I mean, in his first 4 years at the big league level, was giving up over 4 walks per 9 innings. He's down that to 3 walks per 9 innings, only giving up 1 home run per 9, so I mean, he's been rock solid there. 2 runs or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, and for McGreevy, he does a good job in terms of not giving up free passes. He just has no deception whatsoever. 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 1.2 walks allowed per 9, but he's only getting 4.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, so 4.41 ERA. Now that is backed up by a 3.57 field independent, but he's also backed up by a Cardinals lineup that is in the bottom 3 in baseball in terms of run scoring since the beginning of the month of July. You just really don't have a lot of power with this team. Wilson Contreras has been the main man for the team. He's been able to supply 16 home runs, and he gives you an on-base percentage that's in that neighborhood about a 340. You've had Alec Burleson do a nice job of being able to find a way on base as he, Ivan Herrera, along with Brendan Donovan, these are guys hitting between about a 280 to a 290, but Brendan Donovan is now a little bit banged up. He's day-to-day. You're dealing with the injury to Nolan Arenado, so I mean, you've got Nolan Gorman, who he's giving you a home run every 20 at-bats, but he, Pedro Pajes, Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, a lot of guys hitting between about a 225 to 235, even Lars Zupar, who's got their 13 home runs. Now, the Miami Marlins, bottom 3 team in the National League in terms of run scoring at home. That's honestly because their offense is bad. It's more or less because they play in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, and you are having Kyle Stowers in and out of the lineup. He was on the starting lineup yesterday, so you do want to be noting that. So have Augustin Ramirez giving you 18 home runs, but he does provide less than a 300 on base. You've had a few guys really step up for the team. Roberto Hernandez is hitting a 280 in a small sample size. Jacob Marcy has been hitting well above a 300. You've had Xavier Edwards do a great job at the top of the lineup, move the line, hitting above a 300. So these guys have been rock solid, and both of these bullpens are solid. Likes of a Jojo Romero for the St. Louis Cardinals. Throw in there Riley O'Brien, Matt Savanson. These guys give you a sub-3.5 ERA, have been solid. And for the Miami Marlins, since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a top 10 team with regards to their bullpen ERAs. It's been a lot of unlikely guys. Anthony Bender, Lake Bakar, Tyler Phillips, Cade Gibson. I'll give you a sub-340 ERA. So I do think that this is going to be a relatively well-pitched game in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. At the 8, I'm in on the under. And with the Marlins, if I absolutely had to play right now, I'd take the +130 run line, but looking for a -145 or less for that money line. 953, 954 on the card. The New York Mets are on the road facing off against the Washington Nationals as Jake Irvin is on the bump for the Nats, and David Peterson, great name, is on the bump for the New York Mets, and the Mets do find themselves as between minus 188 to minus $2 favorites, between plus 162 to a plus 174. That number on Washington with a total of 9. Under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. And yay verily to the fact that the Mets won a pair of games over the weekend, but this is a team that's in a tailspin, and I'm not necessarily the biggest stan of Jake Irvin, but this is too big of a number for me to lay. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Nationals, was willing to take a plus 163 or higher. Again, Jake Irvin, not a guy that's going to go out there and light the world on fire. He's been posting up a 5.14 ERA. He's getting only 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, allowing 1.7 home runs, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings, so you've had your issues there for Irvin. He has given up at least 4 runs in now 4 out of his last 5 starts, so that's less than savory. And then you do have on the other end a guy in Peterson who is not necessarily getting a ton of strikeouts, but he's just doing a great job of keeping things out in front of him. 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's only getting about 7.7 strikeouts per 9, but 3.30 ERA backed up by a 3.49 fielding dependent, so he's been solid there. Now, in his last 2 starts, a combined 10 runs allowed against the Guardians and the Atlanta Braves at home, so that's a little bit of a worry, but David Peterson has been able to do a relatively solid job on the road this season. 3.77 ERA on the road. He's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, so more than passable. The big thing for the Mets is, what are you going to be able to get out of Ryan Helsley and the guys that you pick up at the trade deadline? Is they just have not really been panning out for this team at this point. It's been a bullpen that's been up and down. Reed Garrett along with Edwin Diaz have been very reliable. Sub 3.25 ERAs out of both of those guys. But what are you going to be able to get out of someone like a Justin Hageman moving forward? So, that's an issue because they traded away Jose Buto, the long guy, at the trade deadline. And for the Mets, it does feel like a little bit of a top-heavy lineup. You have a quartet of guys that have been able to give you at least 20 home runs this season. Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto. With Soto, 30 bombs, 385 on base. A lot of people like to give him flack, but he's had a solid year. Pete Alonso has been able to give you about a 350 on base, but Lindor, he's starting to heat up a little bit more after he was dealing with that lower body injury. Seems like he's getting a little bit healthier. And Francisco Alvarez, since getting recalled from the minors, has been pretty solid for this team as well. That said, you still have the likes of Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, give you less than a 300 on base. With Beatty, he's up to 13 home runs, but when you've had Tyrone Taylor out there hitting at about a 200, Starling Marte moves the line, but it's been an up and down lineup. And for the Washington Nationals, this team has been far worse with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. The Nationals are actually a top 10 team in the big leagues in terms of run scoring when they're away from home. At home, this is the Washington Nationals team that's in the bottom 9 in all of baseball. So you've had James Wood be able to give you good wood. He's up to 25 home runs. He's been able to give you a 355 on base, though he has been a little bit cold ever since the home run derby. But you just take a look at him providing 12 home runs at home. You've only got one other player with over 4 home runs at home this season, Nathaniel Lowe, and he's hitting at 203 at home. Like CJ Abrams, overall for the season, 16 home runs, but he's only hit 3 of them at home. They are getting Dylan Cruz back. He hasn't hit for a lot of averages here, but he has been able to give you a little bit of power. You've got Josh Bell, who's been hitting above at 275 really since the beginning of the month of July, but this is also Washington Nationals bullpen that is dead stinking last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They trade away Kyle Finnegan at the trade deadline, and just a lot of guys in general that are not getting the job done. Shinikuski, Ogasawa, Jose Ferrer, Jackson Rutledge, Connor Pilkington. Like, you just go down the list of guys posting up above a 4.40 ERA. And I said, this Mets team has been very much struggling recently, so at a plus 163 or higher, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Nationals on the money line, made my total at 80.7, so here at the 9, I'm going to be in on the under as well. What was supposed to be a single game for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs is now a double dip. So we are going to do both of these games together. This is 9:55, 9:56 in conjecture with 9:81, 9:82 on the betting board, as it is the Brewers on the road against the Chicago Cubs. The first game on the betting board is actually the late game. Brandon Woodruff going for the Brewers, James Taillon for the Cubs. And then game number 1, which we're going to hit first, is 9:81, 9:82. Chad Patrick goes for the Brewers. Matthew Boyd is on the bump for the Cubs. Right now with the Cubs on the money line in terms of game 1, that's between minus 126 to a minus 144. This opened up in a lot of places, more around about a minus 124 to a minus 130 with the Cubs. Total on this game is between 7 and 7.5. On the 7, the over is minus 125. The under is even. On the 7.5, under is minus 120 to minus 125. Over is between even and plus 105. In terms of this Patrick versus Matthew Boyd game, I did set my total 7.8, so I'm going to be in on the over, and mainly it's because, for one, the Brewers are number 1 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home, over 5.8 runs per game away from home. It's absolutely remarkable. This despite the fact that they've only got one guy in the roster above 15 home runs as far as this season. That'd be Christian Yelich, 25 bombs, but what has really been the constant for this team, everyone is moving the line for them. Andrew Vaughn, ever since he came on over from the White Sox, north of a 375 on base, he's up to 14-plus home runs this season. But Yelich, Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Caleb Durbin, Blake Perkins, all these guys are giving you a 330 on base or better. Heck, for Isaac Collins, he's up to a 383 on base. You've been able to get a lot of production out of just all of these unheralded guys. And for the Brewers, I do think that they're going to be able to get to Matthew Boyd a little bit, who's been rock solid, sub 250 ERA, 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, the fewest since 2017, but he's out hittering himself. He's only giving up about 2 walks per 9 innings, less than a home run per 9 innings, and I do have some question marks with Chad Patrick, even though when he was at the big league level thus far this season, he was pretty rock solid, 3.52 ERA. This will be his first start since early July. If you'll need to depend more around a 3.56, getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, only allowed 1 home run per 9 innings, but if you look at what he was doing over at AAA Nashville, overall for the season at Nashville, he's posting up a 4.68 ERA, getting about 4 walks per 9 innings, was giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings. Now, he is going to be helped up by the fact that the wind is going to be blowing in very much so on this Tuesday. If you take a look at things, it looks like the wind is going to be blowing in at about 12 or so miles per hour for both of these games. That's why you do have such a low total. Now, I'm going to be taking a shot on the over, even though the Cubs have been a little bit rough themselves with regards to their offense over the last few games. But still have Pico Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki being able to give you 27 home runs apiece. Michael Busch has been able to move the line, give you about a 340 on base. He's up to 24 home runs. Kyle Tucker, 18 home runs, 375 on base. So got a lot of firepower there. For the Brewers, they do have a very rock-solid bullpen that since the beginning of the month of June, top 7 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. They pick up Shelby Miller at the deadline. Nick Mears, Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, Grant Anderson. These are all guys give you a sub-325 ERA. And for the Cubs, they did DFA Chris Flexen, which I'm not sure why they did that, as they've had Ryan Brazier be a little bit rough in the bullpen. They've been about a league average bullpen since the beginning of the month of June, but they pick up Taylor Rogers at the deadline. Daniel Palencia, Brad Keller, Drew Pomeranz, got a lot of guys that are posting up a sub-325 ERA in this bullpen. They've got Willie Castro for a little bit of support in the infield as well, so that helps them out a little bit. But that said, I do want to be fading Chad Patrick, even though the Brewers have been absolutely remarkable, winners of 15 out of their last 16 games. At the 7.5 total, I'm in on the over, and in game 1, we'll lay up to minus 145 on the Cubs on the money line. And then in game 2, this is the Woodruff versus Jameson Taillon game. The Brewers do find themselves as a very slim favorite. I was seeing that circa opener at a minus 116 on the Brewers. Right now, seeing between minus 116 to a minus 121, and between even money to plus 104 is that number on the Cubs. Total is 7. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. But in this game, I'm going to be looking at the Brewers. So, fading the Brewers in game 1, backing them in game 2, and then I'm backing on the over as I did set my total at 7.4. Again, wind is blowing in, but I do feel like this total is a little bit too low for both of these offenses. And for Jameson Taillon, just not a guy that I really want to be backing because it's been a while since he's been on a big league mound. For Jameson Taillon, this is going to be his first start since June 29th. Overall for the season, posting up a 4.44 ERA with over a 5 fielding dependent. Now, the wind blowing in is going to help out his main weakness of giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings, but he's still only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Command is good. He's been giving up about 2 walks per 9 innings this year, but even in his minor league rehab appearances when he was trying to work his way back, it's been a little bit hit or miss for Jameson Taillon. He's not really going to give you a whole heck of a lot of deception, as for those minor league rehab stints that he's had thus far this season, he's posting up an ERA of a 5.54. He was still only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings there. And then for Brandon Woodruff, he has been pretty magnificent in his 7 starts for the Milwaukee Brewers thus far this season, posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about a 2.05. He is getting 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up a little bit of the deep ball himself with 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, but he has been very rock solid with a combined 6 earned runs given up in each out of his last 5 total starts. So 6 runs across those last 5 starts. I'm going to be willing to back the Brewers here up to a minus 135 on the money line in game 2, and then with both of these games in on the over, in this game in on the 7 over. 957, 958 on the card. It is the Rockies playing against the LA Dodgers as Emmett Sheehan is on the bump for the Dodgers. Austin Gomber hopes to not get Gombered up for Colorado. Total on this game is 12. The under is minus 120. The over is even, and for LA, it's between minus 242 to minus 268 on the money line. Anywhere between plus 210 to a plus 220 is that number on the Colorado Rockies. And if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the LA Dodgers, you're going to be laying a pretty hefty number here of a minus 166, but I'm willing to do so. I'm willing to go up to a minus 173, so I am in here for Emmett Sheehan. He has been able to do a good job in terms of swing and miss stuff, albeit He's not a guy that has the world's greatest command quite yet. 3.3 walks per 9 innings, but 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Pretty passable. 3.86 ERA, but a 3.23 fielding dependent. Did get shelled a little bit inside start against the LA Angels, giving up a 5 spot there, but has still given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts. And he goes up against the Colorado Rockies team that they should be producing way more offense at home than what they are. Like for the Colorado Rockies, they're about a league average team with 4.5 runs per game at home. The Coors Field is supposed to be a cheat code for offense, and it just hasn't been for these guys. You've had Mickey Moniak hit above 800 with 10-plus home runs when he's been at home, and Hunter Goodman over 23 home runs overall this season. He's been able to do a very nice job hitting above 275, so you absolutely love what he's able to bring to the table. And then Jordan Beck has been able to hit above 300 at home, but I mean, some of these guys like a Kyle Farmer has been giving you just an absolute nothing burger when he's been at home. They've now got Thairo Estrada on the injured list, so that's not great. Orlando Arcia has been a big giant flopperoonie, and for the LA Dodgers, the offense is hurt a little bit by the fact that Muncy is back on the injured list, but you still have Shohei Ohtani doing Shohei Ohtani things. 390 on base, 43 home runs, 20 bombs apiece out of Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz. These guys have been rock solid. You've been able to get good production as well out of Will Smith getting jiggy with it with over a 400 on base. Freddie Freeman continues to hit a 300. And for this Dodgers bullpen, I do think that they're going to be able to get healthier, and I think that they're going to be better sooner rather than later. Blake Trine spent a lot of time on the injured list. He's working his way back. So have Kirby Yates, Sander Scott on the injured list, but I mean, both of these guys posted up over a 4 ERA. And then you've had Anthony Banda be passable with like a 3.48 ERA. I've actually really been impressed by Jack Dreher and Alex Vesia, both of these guys a sub-3 ERA. And for the Colorado Rockies, this team is in the bottom 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Just have not been able to find much outside of Victor Vodnik for this team, as he's been able to post up a sub-3.75 ERA. Juan Mejia has been solid along Jaden Hill, both of these guys below 4.25 along Jimmy Harrogate, but Seth Alverson is out on the injured list. He wasn't even great when he was out there on the field. Anel Shavili, Nick Anderson, both above a 7 in terms of that ERA. Luis Peralta is posting up a 10 ERA. Like, man, these guys are not great, to say the least. And for Austin Gomber, he's not going to give you any sort of deception whatsoever. This is a guy that gives up a lot of contact in general. Now, he doesn't do the world's worst job in terms of his command, but when you're just getting hit so hard, it's not going to make too much of a difference. 6.75 ERA for him, 6.15 field dependent, giving up 2.3 home runs per 9 innings, only getting 5.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Do think that the Dodgers take it to him and take it to him hard. Willing to go up to a minus 173 on this Dodgers run line. It's up by total 12.1, so here are the 12 I'm in on the over. 959, 960 on the card. The Slam Diego Padres playoffs to the San Francisco Giants. Kai Wei Tang is on the bump for the Giants, and Nick Pivetta is on the bump for the Padres. Padres, very sizable favorites here. Any between minus 218 to a minus 240, and between plus 192 to a plus $2 number is that number on the Giants. The total is 8. The under is between minus 115 to a minus 120. Over is between even and minus 105. And if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the San Diego Padres, right now you find that at a minus 105, and I'd be willing to go up to a minus 112. So really wouldn't want to go past a minus 110, but I'm going to be willing to roll the dice here on Nick Pivetta on the run line. Also, I will say this, with Tang being the starter right now for the San Francisco Giants, if you notice a little bit of a change of pitcher in the AM, that's probably going to be an opener situation. We have seen them do this with him in the past, as I believe that in his last appearance they did that, but for Tang, he's made 3 appearances this far this season, and he's getting 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but in his 10 total innings, he's given up 8 walks as well. That's a little bit less than savory. Guy that actually comes on over from the continent of Asia. I believe that he's from Taiwan, so a little bit of an import product, as he was pitching for Sacramento this year. And Sacramento, we know how tough it's been for the Athletics this season to pitch there. He's been able to give you about a 3.67 ERA, was posting up really good swing and miss numbers there, but was giving up a lot of walks in that league as well, about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so he's clearly trying to find his way at the big league level. And for Nick Pivetta, just getting out of Boston and being able to pitch in San Diego, very much a pitcher-friendly ballpark, has been big for him, because I always noticed when he was with the Red Sox, his home and road splits were very demonstrative because that ballpark just did not play to his liking. He's a little bit more of a fly ball pitcher, and he's giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings currently at home with a 2.41 ERA. That balloons up to a 3.43 ERA on the road, and on the road he gives up closer to about 1.1 to 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. So he has been at his best when he's been in San Diego. For the Padres, this is a team that is starting to surge with picking up Ryan O'Hearn, Roman Laureano, pair of guys that are able to give you above a 340 on base. Laureano is up to 19 plus home runs, so he has been rock solid for this lineup. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. have been your main guys in terms of being able to supply boom and just find a way to get on base. Now, both have been cold with regards to home run power over the last few weeks, but Machado is still hitting a 290 with a 353 on base, 20 home runs. Fernando Tatis Jr., 370 on base. He's been able to give you 17 home runs, and then you've had Gavin Sheets be able to give you about a 250 average, 15 home runs. And then from there, got guys that are able to move the line like Jake Cronenworth, a 360 on base. Jackson Merrill has been able to put out a 260 as well, and Luis Rise hitting a 290. And for the Giants, this has been a bottom 7 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Rafael Devers just has not supplied the boom that this team was hoping for. For Rafael Devers, I mean, it's no longer a small sample size. It's 52 games. He's hitting a 236 with 8 home runs. You just expected a lot more out of him, although Ramos has been solid, about a 340 on base, but his power has really fallen off as well, 14 home runs. Now, Willie Adames, since the beginning of the month of July, double-figure amount of homers, so for the season hitting at 222, but he's been much better recently. Matt Chapman, he's giving you 16 home runs, but he's hitting just a 230 for the year. He's been a little bit rough recently as well. Team trades away Mikey Stremski, the catcher spot has been rough though. Dom Smith, 340 on base, you're able to feel good about that, and I actually have the top 2 teams in terms of bullpen ERA going at it in this one. Now for the Giants, I don't think that they're going to be finishing in the top 2 in terms of bullpen ERA. Right now, Eric Miller is dealing with an injury. They trade away Tyler Rogers, Camilo Duvall. They do have Jose Buto. He and Joey Lucchesi are long guys who will give you a sub 375 ERA, but Carson Seymour is rocking north of a 4 ERA. Spencer Bivens has not been great. And for the San Diego Padres, there's just so many guys that you're able to rely upon in this bullpen. Even with Robert Suarez blowing a few games, he's been a little bit testy here in the last few months. You've got the likes of Jeremiah Estrada, Jason Adam, David Morgan, Adriano Morejon, who have all been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. So I do think that for the San Francisco Giants, they're going to have a tough time in this one. I did set the Padres at a minus 112 on the run line, so look in there. Maybe I told 7.8, so here at the 8, I'm also in on the under. 961, 962 on the card. The Houston Astros are on the road against the Detroit Tigers. Drake Skubal is on the bump for the Tigres, and Hunter Brown goes for Houston. And Houston does find themselves as a underdog of between plus 140 to a plus 150, minus 161 to a minus 172. Then around Detroit, 7 is the total, under is minus 120, and the over is even. Plus 140 or higher was my buy point on the Astros. Now, both of these teams have had their scuffles recently, but you have to wonder if something's going on with Tariq Skubal, as in his last 3 starts, he hasn't looked like the Tariq Skubal that we all know and love. He has given up 3+ runs at every one of them. His strikeout stuff was way down in that start against the Minnesota Twins, 3 punch-outs in 7 innings. Now, he still has put together an absolutely amazing season. He's still giving you 11.2 strikeouts and 1.4 walks per 9 innings, 242 ERA, 226 fielding dependent. Tariq Skubal has been amazing, but Hunter Brown has still been one of the best pitchers in the American League this season. He has given up either 1 or 2 runs in each out of his last 4 starts, 10.5 strikeouts, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, 245 ERA, 292 fielding dependent, and he is backed up by a bullpen that no longer has Josh Hader out there, but you've got the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Bennett Sosa, Steven Okert, along Sean Dubin, who have all been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. And for the Detroit Tigers, since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tommy Kahnle has been absolutely awful for the team. Chase Lee has experienced quite a bit of regression. They pick up Kyle Finnegan at the trade deadline, but he's posting up like a 365 ERA overall for the season, so it has been a big issue for them as well. Now for the Detroit Tigers, you've got a lot of good consistency with the lineup, as you've got so many guys hitting between about a 255 to a 270. Cole Keith, Gleyber Torres, Dylan Dingler, throw in there Wencio Perez, Riley Green, Gary Carpenter, 21 plus home runs, Riley Green, 27 plus home runs. Spencer Torkelson, not necessarily hitting for a ton of average, but above a 335 on base, 26 home runs, so he's been rock solid there. And then for the Houston Astros, Jose Altuve is looking like the Jose Altuve that we all know and love. He's been able to supply over 20 home runs, hitting above 275. They get back Jeremy Pena, who's been hitting well above a 300 as well. You don't get a lot of on base out of Christian Walker, Yenier Diaz, but a combined 33 home runs for these 2 guys, so that's been pretty rock solid. Deal with the Isaac Paredes injury has been a little bit of an issue, but you still have quite a few guys that do a nice job move the line, getting on base. Like you've been able to have Victor Carantini, Cam Smith, Mauricio Dubon, only between about a 250 to 265. Chas McCormick has not necessarily been able to give you too much, but I do think that the Astros being a little bit undervalued here with the way that Tariq Skubal hasn't been amazing in his last few starts. So I did set my total at 7.2. Here at the 7, I like the over, and plus 140 or higher, sign me up for that Astros money line. 963, 964 on the card. The Baltimore Orioles are on the road against the Boston Red Sox. Walker Buehler is on the bump for the Red Sox, Tamayuki Sugano goes for Baltimore. 9.5 is the total. Under is minus 120. The over is even. For the Red Sox, it's between minus 125 to minus 132 on the money line. Plus 108 to a plus 115 is that number on Baltimore. And I did set the Red Sox at a minus 155. I am going to be willing to lay the money line. I recognize that Walker Buehler has had a very much less than amazing season, to say the least, but for Buehler, he has been quite a bit better when he has been at Fenway rather than on the road. Overall for the season, 5.43 ERA, giving up 1.8 home runs, 4.2 walks per 9 innings. That's not what you like to see, but 3 earned runs or fewer, allowed in 5 out of his last 6 starts. And for Walker Buehler, again, it's not like he's been dominant at home, but a 4.35 ERA. At home, he's still giving up right around about 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, so that's a little bit less than savory, but he does get to go up against the Baltimore Orioles team that has really had their scuffles when they've been away from home with their offense. 3.7 runs per game away from home, only team in the American League averaging less in terms of a run scoring perspective away from home. That'd be the Chicago White Sox, and for the Baltimore Orioles, this is a bunch that is in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of their own bullpen ERA. You've got the guys like Grant Wolf from Ynier Cano posting up north of 4 ERAs in this bullpen. Yarmir Hidalgo is up to about a 3.50 ERA, but I mean, these guys have been highly suspect this far this season, and for Sugano, he's just not going to blow you away. Only about 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's been a bit better recently, giving up 3 runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts, but he's still giving up over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. The walks have been solid. He's been giving up fewer than 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but again, this is a Baltimore Orioles lineup that has not been able to produce away from home. They do trade away quite a few of those guys like Ramon Laureano and company at the trade deadline, so that was very much a detriment to them. You've got Gunnar Henderson, who's been able to hit about a 280 with 14 home runs. You've got Jackson Holliday up to 15 bombs, so I mean, these guys have been solid. And Jordan Westbrook, since coming off the injury list, hitting about a 275. He's up to 15 home runs, so I mean, these guys have been solid. But Dylan Carlson, he's been giving you about a 258 on base. Kobe Mayo, not finding a way to move line, not giving you a lot of power. Tyler O'Neill has had a miserable season, so there's a lot of guys that just have not been able to perform there. And for the Boston Red Sox, this is a team that just finds a way to be able to move the line, get on base. You don't necessarily have that fearsome hitter as Wilder Abreu has been whiling out. He has been able to supply the team with 22 home runs, hitting about a 250, and there's just a lot of guys in the neighborhood of, we're going to call it about a 255 to a 265. Trevor Story, Jarren Duran, Ceddanne Rafaela have all been solid with that regard. Masataka Yoshida, he's down to about a 250, but I mean, he's been able to move the line. You've had, since coming up to the big league level, Roman Anthony, not necessarily supply a lot of power, but nearly a 4 on base. You'll certainly take that. And for the Red Sox, this is a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had Aroldis Chapman be arguably the most dominant closer in all of baseball, 1.15 ERA with 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but past that, Chris Murphy, Garrett Whitlock, Brendan Bernardino, Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, all providing a sub-320 ERA. So I do think that the Orioles can have their hands full with the Red Sox in this one. Did somebody till 9.6? I think they get plenty of scoring like the over, and the Red Sox up to a minus 155 on the money line. 965, 966 on the betting board. It is the New York Yankees on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Boz, the Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz is on the bump for the Tampa Bay Rays, and Carlos Rodon is on the bump for the Yankees. The Yankees are between minus 129 to minus 137 favorites, between plus 110 to plus 119 is that number on the Rays. 8.5 is the total. The over is between minus 105 to a minus 110. Under is between minus 110 to a minus 115. And for the Yankees, I did set them at a minus 136. So I'm going to be willing to dive in on this money line for Carlos Rodon. He's been able to do a relatively solid job this season, especially on the road, of keeping the ball in the yard. He sometimes have had his fumbles at home, but Carlos Rodon comes in relatively good form. 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, 3.25 ERA. Give it up overall for the season, about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. The swing and miss stuff has been solid with about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Shane Boz, it's just been inconsistent this season. From 4.93 ERA, he enters having given up at least 4 runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. I believe that he's a little bit better than what the 4.93 ERA is, 4.33 fielding dependent, but I mean, still, he's had his issues. And for the New York Yankees, this has been a team that has been all over the place this season, even with getting back Aaron Judge, who has been judge, jury, and executioner, as he's right now supplying the team with a 447 on base with 39 home runs. You do have a little bit of an all-or-nothing lineup. Giancarlo Stanton is coming back, has been solid. A home run every about 12 at-bats, hitting for a 375 on base, but you just need more guys to be able to find a way to move the line, get on base like Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe. You've got Volpe with 18 home runs, but hitting a 215. Austin Wells, 206 average with a 263 on base percentage with 15 home runs. You've had Yusang Dominguez be able to provide about a 330 on base, and Cody Bellinger's been great. 22 home runs, he's hitting about a 265. You've had Ben Wright start to pick it up a little bit, but he's been inconsistent all throughout the season, and it's been inconsistent with regards to this New York Yankees bullpen as well. As you've got Luke Weaver starting to look like the guy that we all know and love from the beginning part of the season, but I don't need to be the world's greatest handicapper to tell you that Devin Williams has been terrible this year. He's got over a 5 ERA. Mark Leiter Jr. has been lightering it up with over a 4 ERA. Ever since getting to town, you've had David Bednar be relatively solid. He's been able to post up in a Yankees uniform a sub-275 ERA, but Camilo Duvall has had his issues as well, so it's been all over the place for the New York Yankees with that regard, and it's still a Tampa Bay Rays team that does rank at the top 10 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Eric Warze, for some reason, is currently at the minor league level, but Pete Fairbanks has been one of the better closers out there in all baseball. He, Garrett Clevenger have both been able to post up a sub-275 ERA. Edwin Uceta has been pretty good as a long guy recently as well, though Mason Englert has been up and down. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, after a very long road trip, I'm sure that they are very, very happy to be back home. Junior Caminero has been supplying the deep ball, 35 home runs, just a 298 on base, but it's hitting about a 260 overall. Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, both of these guys hitting above a 270, combined 44 home runs between those two guys. Jonathan Miranda being on the injured list hurts the seam, but you've got Chandler Simpson, one of the best base stealers in all baseball, hitting at 300 with 34 stolen bases. You do need to get a bit more out of the likes of Christopher Morel, Cam Misner, Taylor Walls. These guys hitting at 230 or lower, but Jake Magnum is giving you 18 stolen bags. He's hitting about a 275, so that's been pretty solid for the team. I do think the positive is going to start to round into form a little bit more, but I do think that he gets roughed up in the start as well, so I might tell it at 8.8. So at the 8.5, I like the over, and for the Yankees, I'm going to be willing to lay the money line up to a minus 135. 967, 968 on the card. The Walker Texas Rangers are on the road against the Kansas City Royals. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals, and Merrill Kelly is on the bump for Texas, and Texas is back to being a mid-size underdog of anywhere between plus 104 to a plus 110, minus 120 to minus 126. That number on the Royals with a total of 8.5, over is minus 120, and the under is even. I did set my total at 8.1, so I'm back in on the under. Merrill Kelly has had himself a pretty solid season. The swing and miss stuff has never been really amazing with him, but for his Sanders, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, you're certainly going to take that. He has been with the Texas Rangers, giving up a little bit more of the deep ball, but this is a small sample size. Overall for the season, 1.1 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings. I trust in that full season sample size a little bit more than what we've seen in this small sample size with Texas, but I do think that he's going to be able to go out there and dominate against a Royals team that's right now dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home. They're averaging about 3.5 runs per game at home. You just need to get a little bit more out of these guys like Nick Lofton and John Rave hitting at 225 or lower. Jack Caglione, it's the injured list. That really doesn't hurt them because he has not done anything for the team this season. Now, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, they've been headlining things with 22 home runs apiece. Perez, since the beginning of the month of July, has hit 10 plus home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. continues to be steady. Not as much power as he'd like, but still 350 on base, 32 stolen bases. He's been rock solid there, and then you've had Kyle Isbell hit for about a 263, but really not a lot of power there. They do pick up Mikey Yastrzemski, who's been a little bit up and down, but the big thing for the Royals has been a top 15 team with regards to bullpen ERA. You've got Daniel Lynch, who's been able to supply sub-3 ERA. Luke Searsedge, Carlos Aceves, they've been solid in this bullpen. John Schreiber has been up and down, but he's at about a 340 with regards to that bullpen ERA. And for the Texas Rangers, they've been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA, as well as you've been able to have a lot of guys just come out of the woodwork and do amazing work for the team. Sean Armstrong, I know that he's injured, but Chris Martin, Hobie Milner, Jacob Latz is a little bit of a long guy, Cole Winn, a lot of guys who have been able to post up a sub-325 ERA. Robert Garcia has been having a little bit of an issue recently, but it is also a Rangers lineup that has been averaging right around about 4.7 runs per game since the beginning of the month of July. You look at the overall season numbers for a lot of these guys, and they're far from impressive. You got a lot of guys hitting in that neighborhood about, we're going to call it a 224 to 240. Wyatt Lang for Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim, line, but I aim for Simeon, Garcia, and Langford, all between 15 and 17 home runs this season. Corey Seager has been able to give you above a 400 on base over the last 2 months, so he's been able to round into form, getting back off the injury list. Evan Carter has been able to hit about a 250. He's been solid as well, so it is a very interesting circumstance as Seth Lugo has just been so much better when he has been at home rather than when he has been on the road. But I do think that for the Texas Rangers, they should be a very slight favorite in this spot, because I do think that with the Texas Rangers, you are going to be able to have that bullpen be a little bit better. And for Seth Lugo, even though he is posting up a relatively good ERA overall for the season at a 3.33 at home, his overall ERA is a 3.77, and for Seth Lugo, he has been giving up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and I actually made the Texas Rangers a favorite in this spot. I made them the minus 127 favorite, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Rangers on the money line. Made my total in 8.1, so I'm also in on the under. 969, 970 on the card. The Athletics are on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan is on the bump for the Twins, and you've got Jacob Lopez on the bump for the Athletics. The Athletics do find themselves as a plus 118 to a plus 127 underdog. Minus 138 to a minus 144 is that number on Minnesota with a total of 8. The under is minus 115. Over is minus 105, and for the Twins, set them at a minus 146 on the money line. Wouldn't really want to go past like the minus 140 to minus 145, but I'm going to be willing to roll the dice on a guy in Joe Ryan who has been really the main bright spot for the Minnesota Twins and one of the lone guys that did not get traded at the trade deadline. As for Mr. Ryan, 272 ERA, 323 fielding dependent, giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, nearly 10 punch-outs per 9. He has been absolutely tremendous, giving up 2 home runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. And then for Jacob Lopez, the swing and miss stuff for him has been really good, and I do think that the Athletics have something here with him. 3.30 ERA, close to a 3.72 fielding dependent. The 11 strikeouts per 9 innings is nice. He's been able to keep the ball in the yard a little bit more. He has not given up a home run in each out of his last 4 starts. Very encouraging there. I do think that for the Athletics, the big bugaboo for this team is going to continue to be the bullpen. You trade away Mason Miller at the trade deadline, and you just don't have a lot of great options for this team. You've got Michael Kelly along with another long guy in Sean Newcomb who will be able to give you a sub 3.75 ERA. Elvis Alvarado has not been too bad for this team, but then you're looking at the likes of a Justin Sterner, Oswaldo Bido, TJ McFarland, Tyler Ferguson, a lot of guys posting up above a 3.75 ERA. Ben Bowden has not been amazing. Now for the Athletics, this has been a really good offense that has a quartet of different guys with at least 22 home runs. Tyler Soderstrom, Shea Langeliers, Nick Kurtz, along with Brent Rooker, and all these guys are hitting at least a 264, including Langeliers, who's always struggled with batting average issues throughout his career. He's up to a 270. Kurtz has been able to give you about a 390 on base. They are dealing with the injury to Jacob Wilson, but you still have guys finding a way to be able to get on base. It is a little bit of a top-heavy team, but Kobe Thomas has a pair of home runs over the last week or so he's been able to step up for this lineup. And for the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton has been able to do a very rock-solid job for this unit. 25 home runs. He's providing just below a 340 on base. Trevor Larnach, he's up to 16 home runs as well. And Ryan Jeffers, give you about a 350 on base. That's been respectable as well, but they trade away so many of these guys like Carlos Correa, Harrison Bader, and company. So now you're relying upon Cody Clemens, who's got a 288 on base, to really provide for the team. Deshaun Kiersey has been just miserable when he's gotten opportunities at the big league level. But I will say, Luke Axel has been giving you above a 400 on base in a small sample size of like 20 games or so that's been relatively encouraging, but this is a Twins team that's also in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You trade away so many of your good relief pieces, so now you're looking at the likes of Cole Sands, Justin Topa, Cody Funderburk, a lot of guys posting up above a 450 ERA, though Erasmo Ramirez has been solid as well, but do think that Joe Ryan goes out there, gives you a good start to be able to get the job done. Did somebody tell it at an 8.3, so to go along with that Minnesota Twins money line, I'm in on the 8 over. 971, 972 on the card. The Toronto Blue Jays are on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller is on the bump for the Buccos. Max Scherzer goes for Toronto. Toronto's a minus 142, a minus 150 favorite. Between plus 122 to a plus 128 is that number on Pittsburgh, and total on this game is 8. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. And for Scherzer and the Blue Jays, I set them at a minus 144 on the money line. So seeing that minus 140, minus 138, I'm going to be willing to lay that number for Max Scherzer. He's been pretty solid since coming off the injury list. He's not the Max Scherzer that we all know and love, but he's still getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has given up the deep ball. He's been giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. That's an issue, but he's still only giving up about 2 walks per 9 innings. He has given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts. starts, so that's very encouraging. And he's given up at least 1 home run in each out of his last 5 starts as well, so a little bit of an issue there, but good news is you get to go up against the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup that is currently dead sinking last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, as you've only got 3 guys on the roster with more than 6 home runs as far this season. Oneil Cruz, Brian Reynolds, and Andrew McCutchen, and though Cruz has been able to crank out the deep ball, he is one of many guys that are just not hitting for any average for this team, as you've got Alexander Canario, Cruz, Lovar Piguero, when he's been out there, Emmanuel Valdez in a small sample size, Jared Trollo, Jack Swiniski, Henry Davis, all hitting below at 215 for this team. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they do trade away David Bednar at the deadline. It's still a relatively solid bullpen, as you've had Dennis Santana be really good along with Isaac Madsen, both of these guys providing a sub-250 ERA. Braxton Ashcraft was solid in this bullpen, but now they're needing to convert him to being a starter, so you're relying a little bit more on the likes of Tori Moretta. You're going to be probably looking at a bit more Ryan Baruchi, Yohan Ramirez moving forward, so that's a bit of an issue. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, it's been about a league average bullpen this far this season in terms of ERA. You've had the Killer Bees and Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, who both been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Uriel Rodriguez has been solid as well. It's been a rough year for Jeff Hoffman. It's been relatively rough for Chad Green as well, but it's a Blue Jays team that does find themselves in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of run scoring, and now you've got George Springer back in the fold. He, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Edison Barger, all between 18 and 21 home runs. Guerrero's up to darn near 400 on base. Bo Bichette has been hitting nearly a 300 with 16 home runs. Don't call his name, Oleander Kirk is hitting darn near 300, and now you've got Dalton Varsho back. 13 home runs in his first 132 at-bats this season. That has been very rock solid, and I do think that they're going to be able to get to a guy, Mitch Keller, that for his career has a point better with his ERA at home rather than on the road. And for Keller, he's been doing a nice job keeping the ball in the yard, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings this season, but career low 7.1 strikeouts per 9 innings for any season in which he's had more than 6 starts. He's only given up about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but he's pitching to a lot of contact, and I do think that the Blue Jays get to him, as Keller's on a rough run, 3+ runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. So did set my total at a 7.9 here at the 8. I like the under, and I do like the Blue Jays up to a -143 on the money line, 973, 974 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are on the road. They're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Christopher Sanchez is on the bump for the Phils, and Bryce Miller goes for Seattle. Total on this game is 8, over and under both at -110. For the Phillies, you're going to be getting them between -162 to a -170, and between +140 to +148 is that number on Seattle. And I did set my total at an 8.2. I like the over. For Bryce Miller, I just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him in his first start coming off of the injured list. For Bryce Miller, overall for his career, he has had some pretty big home and road splits as well. For Bryce Miller, this is going to be his first start since the middle of June, so he's been off for about 2.5 months, and even when he was out there on the field this year for his 10 starts, 5.73 ERA, was not giving up the deep ball, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but he was giving up 4.3 walks per 9 innings, and I was alluding to those home and road splits. This is for the entirety of his career. 4.79 ERA on the road. On the road, he is giving up well above 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. At home, he's giving up less than 1 home run per 9 innings with a 3 ERA, and Christopher Sanchez has just been absolutely amazing for this team this far this season. How about a 2.45 ERA? He's been able to get 9.5 strikeouts and 2.2 walks per 9 innings. He's right now rocking at 2.73. Fielding dependent, comes in pretty solid form. 3 earned runs or fewer, given up in all but one of his starts since the beginning of the month of July, and he's backed up by a bullpen that has been shaky this year, but Orion Kerkering, along with Yohan Duran, who they picked up at the trade deadline, both a sub-3 ERA thus far this season. You've been able to get some relatively good production as well. Tanner Banks, he's up to a sub-350 ERA himself, so there are some encouraging signs there. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, the team is averaging darn near 5.2 runs per game at home this season. That is a top 7 mark in all of baseball. You've had Kyle Schwarber be absolutely a magnificent, over 100 RBI, 43 home runs, 370 on base, and now Bryce Harper coming back into the fold. He's been able to give you some good power with a 355 on base. He's up to 19 home runs. Nick Castellanos has been a little bit up and down in terms of giving you just a 291 on base, but 16 home runs out of him. Trey Turner nearly 30 stolen bases. He's up to 12 bombs, and even someone like Armando Sosa is hitting at 260 for this team. So you do have these guys like JT Realmuto, Alec Bowman Company doing a nice job being able to move the line, and with his Seattle Mariners team, it is a little bit more of an all-or-nothing lineup, as you've got big dumper Cal Raleigh up to 47 bombs, giving you a 360 on base, and Eugenio Suarez, he's been able to hit 37 plus home runs, but he's hitting less than a 240 for the season. Dom Canzone has actually been really good at just finding a way to move the line, get on base with a 345 on base. Randy Arozarena also a 345 on base with his 23 home runs. Julio Rodriguez is up to 24 bombs, hitting about at 260. So you've got a lot of fearsome bats in this lineup, but again, does feel a little bit all or nothing. The good news for Seattle, though, is that the top-end bullpen pieces have been incredible for this team. The likes of Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, the closer, Edward Barzardo, all these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You have seen Carlos Vargas fall down the toilet bowl a little bit, but overall, these guys have been able to do a relatively solid job, but I fear that they're going to need a lot of bullpen pieces with Bryce Miller making his first start in about 2.5 months. That's a big reason why I need at least a plus 180 to take a shot on the Seattle Mariners on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run F with the Philadelphia Phillies, doing this off of the initial FanDuel opener, you're getting that as plus 115, plus 110 or better. I am willing to take a shot on the Phillies on the run line, and I'm in on the over. Semi-total at 8.2, 975, 976 on the card. The Braves play host to the Chicago White Sox. Shane Smith is on the bump for the White Sox, and Bryce Elder hopes to not look elderly for Atlanta. Atlanta is between a minus 165 to a minus 176 favorite, and between plus 143 to a plus 150. That number on the south sider. Zion is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the White Sox. I set my money line price at a plus 141 for Shane Smith. It's been a case where he's been giving out a few more walks than what I'd like, but he clearly has some upside for a White Sox rotation that honestly is not terrible. I'm not going to call it great, but it's not terrible. 401 ERA, 426 fielding dependent. For Smith, 4 walks per 9 innings is a little bit less than savory, but 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 1 home run per 9. He's been giving up a combined 6 runs in his last 4 starts, albeit 5 innings or fewer in all those starts, but it's better than what you're getting out of Bryce Elder right now, who has very much been rough. 5.89 ERA. This man has given up, I believe, 36 runs, 35 of which earned in his last 8 starts. He is on an almighty bad slide. Fielding dependent is closer to about a 5.09, but he's giving up 1.6 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and he is backed up by a bullpen that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. The likes of Desmond Hernandez, Zone Lee, Pierce Johnson give you a sub 325 ERA has been solid, but Raciel Iglesias has been a disaster all season long. They've had to look to guys like Dylan Dodd and company in the bullpen. That's not been great. Now, you do have a pair of guys I really like in Matt Olson and Marcell Ozuna moving the line offensively, both at about a 365 on base. Ozuna's up to 20 bombs, Matt Olson is up to 19 home runs, and then you got Sean Murphy, Austin Riley, both give you 16 home runs, but Riley has been banged up recently as well. He's still on the injured list, so that's not a case where he have a lot to be desired there. You've got Eli White, who's been hitting just barely above a 270 with regards to his on-base percentage. Nick Allen has 0 home runs this far this season, and for the Chicago White Sox, this has been one of the more rough offenses in all baseball, bottom 5 in terms of runs per game. Lennon Sosa's right now leading the way for home runs, 16 bombs with a 275 batting average, and then you've got a trio of guys with between 12 and 14 home runs, Ender Benintendi, Miguel Vargas, and Luis Robert, all hitting a 229 or lower, and that's a big, shall we say, factor for this team. Josh Rojas has been hitting below the Bedell sign of 200. Joshua Palacios has been rough. Michael A. Taylor has not been able to move the line. You have been able to have Colson Montgomery actually look very solid for this team. He's up to 10 home runs in his first 130 at-bats, but he's hitting just at 225 as well. But this is a White Sox bullpen that is about league average with regards to their bullpen ERA. Now, it's mostly long guys, as you've had Mike Vasil along with Tyler Alexander in a White Sox uniform and a White Sox uniform only. Both be able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Tyler Gilbert is down to about a 3.15 ERA as well. Some of these shorter guys like Grant Taylor, Jordan Leisure have had their issues, but this is a Braves team that I don't believe in, and this is a pitcher in Bryce Elder that I love to fade. So, semi-total 9.1. I'm in on the over and the White Sox money line, 977, 978 on the card. The Reds are going to be on the road against the LA Angels, as it is Hunter Green on the bump for the Reds, and Kyle Hendricks, the professor, hopes to not get schooled by the Reds, as the total is 8.5. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Seeing one straight line out there. That under is minus 125, over is plus 105. The Reds are between minus 130 to minus 140 favorites. Between plus 115 to a plus 121 is that number on the Halos. And for the Reds, I did set them at a minus 133 on the money line, so I'm willing to lay that minus 130. Seeing a minus 131 out there as well. Hunter Green, just coming off the injured list, looked pretty good in his first start coming off the injured list. Gave up 0 runs in 6 scoreless innings against Philadelphia Phillies, and this guy's a strikeout artist. 11 strikeouts per 9 innings this season, 247 ERA, 322 fielding dependent, albeit this is going to be a second start since the beginning of the month of June, but you know what, he's been able to go out there, do his part every single time this season. And for Kyle Hendricks, he has been quite a bit better when he's been in Los Angeles rather than on the road, but this is not a guy that's going to scare you whatsoever. He's right now rocking an ERA of a 4.88 with a fielding dependent of a 4.79, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, just 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and Strangely for the Cincinnati Reds team, if you look at their home and road splits, you'd think that they'd be very demonstrative because they call it Great American Small Park, but they entered in the series averaging more runs per game away from home rather than at home. You don't necessarily have a ton of, shall we say, firepower with regards to this lineup outside of Ellie De La Cruz. De La Cruz is able to give you those stolen bases, a 350 on base, 19 home runs, but and you've had Spencer Steer come along for the ride, 15 home runs, not aiming for a ton of average, but that's why you've got TJ Friedl giving you about a 367 on base. They pick up Miguel Andujar sitting darn near 300. Austin the Say's kid coming off the injured list along the Eovaldi Marte gives his team a little bit more punch as Marte has been able to hit darn near 300. Gavin Lux is up to a 360 on base, and for the Reds, this is a respectable bullpen, right around about league average in terms of ERA. Emilio Pagan gives up a couple too many bombs. We saw that in the series against the Milwaukee Brewers, but you know what? He's been able to give you about a 3.10 ERA. Tony Santillan has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA as well. Brent Suter, Scott Barlow. I mean, these are presentable pitchers, and you just don't have a lot of that with the LA Angels, as you've got Kenley Jansen and Brock and Roll Burke, who have both been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but then when you get into the likes of a Ryan Zephyrian, Jose Fermin, Connor Brogdon, Sam Bachman, you've got a lot of guys that are posting up north of a 4 ERA, and for the Angels, this is just an all-or-nothing lineup. Taylor Ward has been able to get on base a little bit more recently, 29 home runs, about a 320 on base. Joe Adell setting fire to the rain with 26 home runs, but setting fire to his on base percentage at a 291. Logan O'Hoppe, 18 home runs, 271 on base. Even Mike Trout, who's got 20 home runs, 367 on base is solid, but he is just hitting for just a 234 this season as well. It's been a rough year for Luis Rengifo, 295 on base with 7 home runs. You just expect a little bit more there, and do think that the Reds get the job done here against Kyle Hendricks and the Angels, and I do think that this is going to be lower scoring with the way that Hunter Green has been able to perform. So I might tell it at 8.2. I like the under and the Reds on the money line, and we wrap things up with 979, 980 on the board. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks playing against the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bybee goes for Cleveland. Eduardo Rodriguez is on the bump for Arizona. Arizona's in a relatively pick'em game between minus 108 to a minus 115 on Arizona. Even money to minus 108, that number on Cleveland. 9 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even. Did set my total at an 8.9. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under. Now for Tanner Bybee, he does have some pretty big home and road splits this season. As for Bybee, it's just been a case where the lack of whiffs have been really hurting him. He's only getting 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's a career low, and as a result, he's got a career high 4.54 ERA, 4.49 fielding pen, and giving up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and he has now allowed at least 4 runs in each out of his last 5 starts, albeit some of these runs were unearned, but that has been very, very grody to say the least, and much of the struggle for Tanner Bybee has come on the road. As for Tanner Bybee at home, about a 3.19 ERA, he's giving up fewer than 0.8 home runs per 9 innings at home. On the road, just under 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 5.59 ERA. Now, it is a Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that is not quite the same as they were at the beginning part of the season. You trade away Eugenio Suarez along Josh Naylor. That's a little bit rough, but I mean, still, Corbin Carroll has been able to give you 4 home runs over the course of his last 9 games, so he's starting to round into form. Geraldo Perdomo still moved line, give you about a 380 on base. Ketel Marte, 395 on base. The power numbers have slowed down a little bit, but he's been solid. Blaze Alexander in a small sample size, about a 330 on base. So you got guys that are stepping up for the team. Now, the guys that are not stepping up are the guys in the bullpen, as this has been a rough Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen to say the least. They trade away Shelby Miller at the trade deadline. Justin Martinez has been very much banged up, so you're relying upon the likes of John Curtis with 2 S's, Jake Woodford, Ryan Thompson, Juan Murillo, all these guys posting up above a 4 ERA. But for the Cleveland Guardians, even though this bullpen has been pretty solid, they've been in the top 8 in terms of ERA since the beginning of the month of June. They've done this mostly without Emmanuel Clase, by the way. Nick Enright, Kate Smith, Eric Zabrowski, Kobe Allard, the long guy, have all been able to give you a sub-315 ERA, and Jacob Junis has been looking a little bit better as well. You still have had Hunter Gaddis be all over the place over the last few months. It's a case where whenever you've got Matt Festa out there, that is not a fiesta for you. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this is a bottom 7 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, as it's a very top-heavy lineup. Jose Ramirez, 25 home runs, 365 on base. Stephen Kwan has been able to about a 280. So, I mean, these guys have been solid, but then you got a bunch of guys hitting in that neighbor of like a 225 to a 230. Daniel Schneemann, Carlos Santana, Gabriel Urias, Anel Martinez. Colin Manzardo starting to step it up, 21 bombs, 325 on base. But then you've got the other guys like David Fry, Bo Naylor, CJ Kayfus, John Kenzie Noel when he's been at the big league level as they've demoted him to the minors a few times. Will Wilson, Jonathan Rodriguez, all posting up a batting average of a 215 or lower, and I recognize that things have been very rough for Eduardo Rodriguez this year. He is rocking an ERA that is well above a 5, but he's still been able to give you some relatively good swings and misses. I still do think that he's doing for some positivity this season, as he's got a 5.40 ERA compared to a 4.66 fielding, depending, getting those 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, coming off of giving up 1 run on the road against Colorado Rockies. Do think that the Diamondbacks here get the job done in what I think might be a little bit of a sneaky low-scoring game. I did set my total at an 8.9, so at the 9, I'm in on the under, and I'm going to be in on that Diamondbacks money line up to a minus 124, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have 1 or 2 ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire on whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season into the postseason, so I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you.